Good morning, Soul Family. Today we're going to do our reading very differently. I want you to listen to the ocean, and I'm going to tell you a story. This is a story of a man who created this boy. He was just wooden, but he came to life. He loved this little boy. This little boy had a little friend called Jiminy Cricket, and he was his conscience. But one day, this little boy got mixed up with the wrong crowd. And they wanted him to go with them to a place called Treasure Island, where it was all fun and boys could do anything they wanted to do. And so he went. And they gave them candies, and they gave them treats, and they let them go on rides, and they did all kinds of wonderful things. And he thought he was in a paradise. But that wasn't the case. They weren't doing that for his pleasure. They were luring him into that because they wanted him for his energy. Because this was a very special little boy. He was an indigo empath, a crystal child. He was self-charging energy. And they knew what he had, and he wanted that energy for themselves. And they would feed off of his energy. He thought he was helping people. He would take care of their children. He would take care of their pets. As he grew up, he was helping. He was a loving, good boy. And he missed his home, and he missed his father, because the energy started to be pulled so much from him that he realized he wasn't in a place of fun. He was a captive. And all of a sudden, all of the fun and all of the toys and all of the wonderful things that were given to him, he realized, oh my God, I'm being kept. I'm a prisoner of these people that are using me and taking my energy. I give and I give and I give, and they take and they take, and I'm not able to break away from them. I'm not able to self-charge because they're constantly drawing. I was given a name and I saw the word, and it said prey. He was their prey. He thought he was loved. He thought he was helping. They weren't interested in what he had inside as far as goodness. They were only interested in what they could get. He was their prey. They were preying on him. They were feeding off of his energy. And he was getting weaker and weaker. And there was a girl who saw that boy, and she loved him. But when she touched him, he turned to wood. And his family was very sad, and they turned away. And she said, no, he's in here. And they said, no, he's not. There's no point. There's nothing left. There was nothing left because they were feeding off of him, and they'd taken everything from him. But she kept pouring her love and her energy into him. And every once in a while, she would see a flash of blue in his eyes. And she called the family back, and she said, look, look. See, there's life. And they would come back. Huh. Were they coming back because they loved him, or were they coming back because they thought there was more they could get from him? But then the light would go out. And then I saw the brother walk away. He was sad. He put his head down, and he shook his head, and he said, there's no point. And I said, don't leave him. He's in here. And I kept pouring my energy into him. And eventually, the light flashed back into him. And his blue eyes flashed, and he was back. He was the phoenix rising. And that little wooden boy, when he was there, living amongst those people that were feeding off of him, he had to do things to take care of them. He was in their captivity, and he told lies. Every time he lied, his nose would grow. That was his conscience telling him, you can't lie like that. You've got to tell the truth. And that girl that loved him, she connected with him energetically. She could see through her prophetic dreams what was happening. And she asked the father, make it easy on him. Please bring him home. And he said no. He has to bow down. And then she heard, when the great wave comes, go to the mountain with the tablets. She couldn't understand what that meant. She heard it again and again. And then she kept being shown the Eiffel Tower. What does the Eiffel Tower mean? Her mother showed her the Eiffel Tower. And she said, don't give up on him. The Eiffel Tower. And then she realized the Eiffel Tower is a conductor of energy. It doesn't pollute the waters. It doesn't pollute the air. The Father sends a lightning bolt of inspiration and flash of energy and information in through the crown to the top of the Eiffel Tower, and it illuminates and it sends out a light, a beacon. In this way, it's charged by the Father to help others. And so the little boy, when he was lost, he sent this message across the water. Shine your light and bring me home. At the time, she didn't know what that meant, but the Father said, just stay on your path. No matter how difficult it feels, no matter how hard it gets, stay on your path. And so she stayed on her path, and she did her work, her spiritual work, and she shined her light. And she realized all these little bits of information that were coming in through her tower, the top of the tower, were pieces of information that she needed to share, not only for that little boy that she loved, but for everyone else. And then she heard crystals. One man with 30 crystals in his hands can charge a giant crystal. And she realized this boy, he had pants that were made of solid crystal. He was a crystal child. He was a charged child. And he was feeding this giant crystal. This man had 30 crystals because this man now grew from a little boy. He became Captain Jack Sparrow, the pirate. He grew up on those ocean waters. He grew up in that land of toys and fun. And he did what he had to survive. But now he's become a pirate on those seas. He knows what to do. He knows how to work that energy. He's become the magician. Do you want to be a good pirate? Do you want to become back to the floor, to the ground, to where you're stable? Because the Father said when the great wave comes, go to the mountain with the tablets. Think about the mountain. The mountain is strength, support, spirit. It's our Father. Water is emotion. The ocean was very healing. The energy is a great conductor of our Father's energy. And so we go to the ocean. And the ocean will now remove any tears that are remaining when we ask the Father to pull out those barbs and cords that these energy feeders from Treasure Island have put into this wooden boy, who has now become Jack Sparrow. The ocean cleanses him. He rides those seas in his pirate ship. But the Father says, come to the mountain with the tablets. Leave that ocean now and come to the mountain. There's healing waters that run from this mountain. The ocean has sealed up those holes, but now you need life-giving water, fresh, flowing water, which comes from me, from Spirit. And when he went to that great mountain, the tablets represented that life force flowing water. That's where he saw that girl. The girl that saw the wooden boy. And she loved him. And even while he was riding on the 7 seas in his pirate ship, he would call to her, shine your light and bring me home. And she would send her healing Reiki energy and love, unconditional love, from her heart to his, to charge him, because while he was riding on those seas, those people were drawing his energy, and he wasn't able to replete himself. Yes, he's a self-charging crystal, but if you're not going to the mountain to receive the life-giving water, how can you get that energy? So as Captain Jack Sparrow rides those seas in his pirate ship, that girl that loved him was connecting to the life-giving waters from that mountain of spirit, and she was feeding that energy into him. And the Father was calling him back. Allow the waves to bring you back to shore. come back to the mountain. When that great wave comes, when the storm comes, come to the mountain with the tablets. And so he made that pilgrimage up to the mountains. It was very difficult for him to get across those seas, the stormy waters, and to climb those mountains. It was very, very hard for him. This was the dark night of his soul. But when he got there, he found the mountain. He went into meditation, and he remembered himself. And he started to draw from the life-giving waters of the mountain. And that's where he saw that girl, his best friend, at the curtain of the waterfall. The one who had loved him all that time. That's the connection of a twin soul relationship. For all of you who have asked me, that's how it works. And that's what happens when we have to go out and do our own work. And sometimes we get tossed about on the sea of our emotions. And when we're traveling, trying to get up that mountain during this dark night of the soul, we cross many rivers. And in those rivers, as the water runs down, it stirs up all of the rocks from the floor. Those are all of our things from our past. Those are all of the lessons, the painful memories, and the things that we need to have come up so that we can heal them. And as we climb that mountain, the water runs down away from us. But it's life-giving water if we stay to our path. And the Father said, no matter how difficult it gets, no matter how sad and horrible and bad things look, stay on your path. Climb the mountain. When you get to the mountain, bow down and take a drink from that water that I give to you freely. Because I'm not asking you to bow down in servitude, not like the people at Treasure Island and the people on the seas when you were in your pirate ship. I give this water freely because I love you unconditionally. And you see the girl, she was able to give you that water and share it with you because I fed it to her. As long as she stayed on her path, I would flow that water into her through her crown and fill her with unconditional love and healing Reiki energy. And she was able to connect to her twin and give it to him without depleting herself, but she had to learn to love herself too. She had to learn to take care of herself. And don't go chasing after that Captain Jack Sparrow on the seas. He needs to learn to sail his ship to shore. And though the truth may vary, his ship will sail you safely home. Because the home is the mountain where the waters run freely and give you life, healing source. So when the trials of your life toss you about a ship, like a ship at sea, come to the mountain. And when you're struggling across those rivers, and those memories come up, and those past life things push all your buttons and hurt you, remember they're coming up to be healed. And take a drink, bow down, the Father says, take a drink from that water running down the mountain. It's not there to hurt you, it's there to heal you. And bathe in that fresh water. Keep climbing that mountain, the mountain with the tablets that flow freely to you, because I love you, and because you are worthy to drink from that water. And when I ask you to bow down, it's so that you can take that life, healing, energetic water that I give you freely, that I give to all my children, because I love you all unconditionally. So don't be looking for Treasure Island and all the treasures that you can seek, and don't be working and toiling on the seas out there in your pirate ship, looking for all the treasures, thinking that that's what you need. All you need to do is climb that mountain and come to me. Stay on your spiritual path, and I will give you everything you need, because I love you and you're my children. Go to where there is love. Go to where there is friendship. Go to where there is truth. Don't lie. Don't hide. Don't be toiling and going after all the material things of this world. Tell the truth. And when those buttons are pushed, don't be angry. Recognize those buttons are being pushed so that you can be healed. It's time to cut the cords. Allow that sea to heal up those auric tears when those barbs and spears and cords that were attached to you from those from Treasure Island were put into you. All those ones that were asking you to feed them, these big dogs that were riding for free. I saw a black bird in the water today. It was dead. It made me sad when I saw it there floating up against the rocks. This cormorant that someone had put a metal ring around its neck. They wanted the cormorant to fish for them. But the cormorant wasn't allowed to keep anything of his. He wasn't able to swallow it. And he got so weak that he died. And he washed up against the mountain, the rocks. But the Father saw him and recognized that he had gone through that dark night of the soul. And when he died to that way of life, he was reborn because he opened his eyes. And that healing water that went across him, that healing salt water, healed those wounds. And that phoenix rose, and he flew like a raven into the light, into the divine masculine energy of the sun, the healing energy of the sun, and he went to that mountain. And he stopped at that river and took a drink. He bowed down, and then he traveled on forward up that mountain, like all of the other animals did, and all of the other people making the pilgrimage over the mountains and the valleys and through the rivers, stopping to take a drink whenever Spirit would bring it down to us. But we all travel to that mountain, that great mountain where we meditate, and we go in, and we hear the energy that comes in through our crown. That's the life-giving force. Those are the messages that we get, the little tidbits. And we realize that we deserve this, and we forgive ourselves. And that's why we realize when we see those pelicans flying by, and the pelicans say, drop your burdens. Drop your self-blame. Drop the burdens that you've been carrying of others. Look, there's so many of us. We're here as a team. We work together. We're going to allow ourselves to float for a little while on those lakes. And then we're going to fly again. As part of a team. We call to the lone wolves on the mountain, come! The wolf pack. The wolf pack never leaves a wounded one behind. And the Canadian geese, they call, come follow us. They never leave a wounded bird behind. And they all are traveling to the mountains. And they stop in the mountains and then go into meditation where they can hear their Father. And they lift their heads to the clouds when it rains. And they watch as the rain comes down and it washes them clean. And they take a drink from that beautiful life-giving force. Everything upon this planet is here to heal us. But it's all in nature. It isn't in the almighty buck. It isn't in striving after the Joneses and all that they have. It isn't in Treasure Island. The treasure is within yourself, within the knowledge that comes down freely from the rain that falls down, from the water that flows from the mountain, that the Father gives to all of his children, unconditionally. As long as we stay on our path, everything will be given to us, everything we need. And you will find true love. You will find your soul family. You will find your best friend at the curtains of that waterfall.